Hi, I'm Marty Grimes with Santa Clara Valley Water District. On this episode of The People Behind Your Water, we're going to take a closer look at our vast groundwater recharge systems, our ponds, our reservoirs, our ditches. It's a very interesting system, and we're going to talk to Jason Araujo, who is one of our water masters. We took a ride with Jason. He showed us some of the facilities where they actually go every day to move water from place to place, turn valves. It's really interesting, so I hope you'll join us with Jason Araujo, Water Master. So Jason, you're going to take us to Page?
Yeah, we'll take you out to the Page percolation ponds that we have. We've got a project going on out there right now, and show you what that's all about.
All right. So what times your day usually start?
Usually start at 5:30.
That's early.
Yeah.
So things are happening at 5:30 in the morning?
Oh yeah.
Have to be addressed?
Definitely, yeah. 24 hours. We have some of our percolation ponds when they're all up and running. They're running 24 hours a day, 7 days a week, putting water underground, and creeks are running 24/7.
Yeah.
Reservoirs, everything.
So someone's either on call or actually on the job?
Yes, correct. Yeah.
So these particular ponds, were they drained because some maintenance was scheduled?
Exactly, yeah. And then because of the weather, the water conditions and stuff where we're at, we just, these ponds are big, they take a lot of water. So we just decided to turn them off a little sooner than normal and start the pond cleaning.
And where does the water come from for this system?
It's a mixture. It could come from San Luis Reservoir, or it could come from this system in Los Gatos is pretty nice. It's different than most of the other systems. We can bring water off the creeks, so that's just basically rainwater, or we can get it from the reservoirs, and we can divert it in coming off that way, or we can use the pipeline. So, like I said, you can get it from San Luis or Milpitas. So it's a mixture of kind of whatever's the right blend.
So imported water all the way from the Delta can come into these ponds to percolate into our groundwater.
Correct.
Or we've got Lexington Reservoir is probably the main local source.
Into Vasona, and then Vasona down the creek into Los Gatos Creek.
Okay.
Correct.
Great. And so what kind of maintenance is going on here when you have this opportunity to clean things up?
With this drier year, what we're going to do with these ponds out here, we scraped them, which you can see they already been removed, some sediment off the bottoms, and we're going to be doing some road repair and rehabilitation to the sides. If you
see it's eroding over time.
Exactly, and the road in the second pond over there, it's actually getting a lot narrower, so it's starting to get unsafe to drive. So hopefully the next couple weeks, maintenance will be out here putting some sheet piles in. We're going to backfill it, fix all the roads up, and then they'll be ready to start filling whenever we get some water. Yeah.
And the scraping is done to get the fine sediments out, because that reduces the percolation capacity, right?
Correct. Yeah, it slows the percolation rate down. They'll take a soil sample. They'll see how much is mud, and then when it gets back to the normal soils, so they'll scrape maybe a couple inches to maybe a foot, just depends, off of all the bottoms of the ponds, and then they actually put the rows that you see in the ponds are actually designed to help percolate the ponds. It's not just a design. It's actually engineered. It actually does work.
The rows?
Yeah,
what I'm saying?
The scrapes and the lines that are in there.
Yeah, I would have thought that was just the fork of the whatever.
Yeah, no, the top of the little berm, the little hill, the percolation perks a lot better on the sides of it. And then everything else kind of, the sediment and stuff kind of sits on top and it perks on the side. Yeah, somehow they figured all that out, and it works good.
I learned something. I learned a lot, but I definitely learned that today.
Yeah.
All right, what else you got going on out here?
That's basically it with this pond system. Like I said, we're going to be doing road repairs, rehabilitation to the side banks, get some erosion control. Normally, in a regular wet year, we would just do a pond cleaning, which would just be draining it, scraping the ponds, and that's it. But I mean, with this time of year, with the low water, we can get a lot more done, and actually, make these recharge ponds, work the way they should work.
When these were draining, were there fish in these ponds?
Normally, there's not too many fish in here. If there are, they're just non-native. They're carp. They just somehow come in the line. But there's non-native stuff always in here. And our biologists come out here and do a little survey first to make sure there's nothing in here. But
to make sure there's nothing native or in danger that should be rescued or something. I suppose if we found something like a western pond turtle or something, where they would try to find a new home for it.
Right, yeah, move it to one of our other ponds in the area that will have water the rest of the season.
And that we will have some that will have water the rest of the season this year?
Not in this area. It doesn't seem like it, but I mean, we can move. There are some other in the creeks and stuff like that. We can move them out that way or something. But yeah, ponds in this area, no, they're gonna be dry.
All right, okay, let's move on. So this is where the water comes in. This, what do you call that, a channel?
We call this page ditch.
Oh, okay.
Just the ditch, yeah. The water comes in, and you got all the ponds next to it, and you got all these valves and pipes that we can divert the water off the ditch and bring it into these other ponds. So on a daily basis, this is something that we got to adjust and monitor every day, is what the pond levels are doing, because basically there's on a lot of these systems there is no overflows. So the ponds could overflow and kind of flood out the area if we weren't out here checking and monitoring and adjusting these valves each day.
Is that a physical on-site personal check, or is there some alarm here that could tell you that something's getting too high and you need to adjust something?
No, it's a physical check, a daily check that one of our staff has to be out here every day checking it.
Huh. All right, so this is one of the valves, and water goes into this pond.
This is the ditch, and this is pond number 7. I'm sorry, it goes into pond 7, and then there's valves off of each one from 7.
It flows from 7 to 6
to 5. And then 5 is the end in the corner, basically kind of the end of the system. And if it spills, or it's going to spill, it's going to go out everywhere. But this is where you would stop that flow from coming up anymore. Is off the ditch.
All right, very good.
That plays good on the sound.
Yeah, the wind guard helps a little bit. So this is a typical operation here. You unlock it.
Usually they're slow. And then it depending on if we need more water or less water, open and close it. So right now I'm opening it, and this would bring more water into the last 3 ponds of this series.
So do you kind of count what you're doing? Or
yeah, we usually count the turns, and basically one turn all the way around is one turn. That's kind of how we do it. And then you can kind of get an eyeball if you look in the pond behind us. When it spills into it, kind of get an eyeball at kind of how much water is going into it.
Yeah. So you're saying this is sort of the art of what you do to control these things.
This is the water master skills. You got to kind of eyeball flow.
And are you a water master?
That is, yes. Our official title is Water Resources Tech, but everybody calls us Water Master, and that's our other title.
That's a nice title.
It's not too bad.
All right, thank you. What do you? It looks like they're removing sediment in this pond?
Yeah, correct. This is the silt basin. So this is where all the water comes in. So it could come off the creek where it's really dirty. We inject it with some poly. It's just what it is. It's a chemical that just makes the sediment real heavy and drops to the bottom of this pond. And so when it comes and spills and goes down the ditch, it's a lot cleaner than when it first came in. So maintenance is scraping, I think a couple feet, because this thing hasn't been cleaned in a long time, of sediment out of here. And they're going to be replacing, there was wooden boards that kind of snaked all around. So they're going to replace that with these.
This had the wooden boards?
Correct.
All right. And there's another pond over here that has dirt sort of baffling. Or is that what you
Yeah,
call it?
and that's the Kirk side, and we'll drive by that. But yeah, we're going to replace those with sheet piling. It's a plastic heavy sheet piling soon, so they're getting ready to do that. And normally, in normal conditions, we wouldn't be doing any of this kind of work. We would just do the pond cleaning and scraping, not repairing the whole entire desilt basin. And again, with the low water we have and not enough water, and then the lack of rain, we can do this kind of work. There's a lot of road embankment erosion happening in this corner over here, so that's part that they're going to be repairing and fixing.
And the ponds to our left here are the Camden ponds, and they're shut off now, or they're getting a little bit of water from Vasona right now as we're talking?
We will, what we do, well, now that they're doing the work in the silt basin, we were putting a little bit of water in for about a week just to fill them up before they spilled, and then we turn it off for a couple weeks, and just let it drop up and down. But now that they're starting the work, we don't want to put no water in this ditch just because it could seep through laterally and start flooding their project with water. So until they're done, we'll probably put some water back in here and at least keep the Camden ponds filled. But these ponds, as you can see, they haven't dropped that much, so they don't percolate that great. So we're not going to do no cleanings on these ones.
But we're not expecting them to be looking this great all summer.
No, they'll probably drop another couple feet, maybe 4 or 5 feet, but I don't think they're going to go completely dry this summer.
There's events that have been planned to do kids fishing events here, and they've had to move them elsewhere because of the anticipated water conditions here.
Yes, yeah. They usually have maybe about 3 or 4 kids fishing events every year.
Where they stock the ponds with trout.
Correct, yeah. And they have events and stuff for a weekend and prizes for the kids and all that. So this year, I haven't heard anything yet if they're gonna move it somewhere else, or they're still gonna do it here, because like I said, these ponds won't dry out as fast as some of our percolation ponds. These ponds are more for aesthetics and wildlife and all that.
Is this another stream gauge here, 53?
Yes, that's one of our stream flow stations. Basically, the water comes in at we got the turnout that's across the way, and then where we're going to go to is the Kirk Dam, so where we can pull the water off the creek. And this building that's right here is the chemical feed station, which I was mentioning. So we'll inject it with the poly, and the poly will grab all the sediment, make it real heavy, and drop out into the bottom of that desilt basin. And here's Los Gatos Creek right below us.
Your boss Jerry was just telling me yesterday that we're probably going to be reducing the flow into Los Gatos Creek soon.
Yes, correct. Yeah, right now we have a requirement to keep about 2.5 CFS down at the end of Los Gatos Creek, which is by Lincoln Avenue, and we're going to be we're going to see what we're going to be cutting that down to. Either it's going to still go past it just a little bit, or we're going to dry it up in this upper reach. But Fish and Wildlife and National Fisheries, we go into a lot of meetings with them, and they'll let us know.
So the creek may dry up in certain parts. Is that what you're saying?
Yeah, definitely. It's going to be coming up by the dams up here, a lot closer to those, and not keeping the lower reaches of the creek wet.
So you're saying down by Lincoln it could dry up, or closer to Vasona and Lexington?
No, down by Lincoln, down by the freeway, up over here by the dams. We should still probably have a little bit of water still coming out to keep the creeks wet on this upper reach.
All right, we're approaching the Kirk Dam, a new facility. Much improved over the previous one, I'm sure.
Correct, yes. It's greatly improved.
All right. So to our right here, we got the inflatable dam.
Right.
Want to talk about it?
This is our new inflatable rubber dam, still Kirk Dam. What was here before was steel panels that would have to be pulled out. So in case of emergency, it would take a big effort to get out here to pull it. And now all we got to do is just with the push of a button, deflate this dam and let all the water out in case of a flood emergency.
So a flood emergency, you're saying that like during a very big storm event when there's a lot of water coming down Los Gatos Creek here, if that sheet piling dam was still in place, is that what you called it?
Yeah.
If that was still in place, what would happen?
It could just destroy it. I mean,
The pressure of that storm water coming down the creek could destroy the dam and then go downstream.
Correct. Yeah. So I mean, you're talking about so much rain that Lexington, which is up above, is spilling, and then it spills into the bottom of Vasona, and it's just there's no way to pull that out if this whole dam was full and there's just so much inflow coming in, then it would just destroy itself. And if it did, it'd wash out, and then all the panels could get stuck under bridges, cause more damage, and all that.
So now you just would push a button if it were inflated. It's not inflated now, but it would push a button to deflate it. Water can flow freely downstream.
Correct, exactly. It's our first inflatable dam as this size that we have. I think this is going to be our test one, and then we have our other dam, Alamitos Dam, by the office, which is a lot bigger. We might put one of those in. So this is a test to see how good it works and if there's any bugs, kind of work those out and then replace that, because this one we don't really pull out as much as we do as the one by the office, Alamitos. We pull that one out almost every year. This one we can keep in, and it can handle most of the storms that run through it.
So why is it deflated right now? We're not seeing storms.
Just in case we get some kind of flash flood coming in and just there's debris, it can just kind of wash out. But if we do anticipate, if we do the releases up at the reservoir, we'll inflate it and we can back the dam up and we can actually pull the water off the creek in those trash racks over there. And we can actually bring that water in through the whole system. So this is what I was mentioning earlier. We can bring water off the creek and bring it into the whole recharge facility and not have to use no imported water at all.
Okay. So the purpose of having a dam here at all is to raise the water level in this creek so we can take water from the creek and put it into the ponds that we just visited.
Correct.
And then the other way we get water into those ponds is imported water, and there's a pipeline that runs right over there.
Correct.
That can release into the pond system.
Exactly. Yep.
Of imported water.
Exactly. Yep.
And I see some fish screens over there. Is that a new element as well?
Yes, it's all new.
Cones over there.
Yeah, new structure, new dam, a new setup. Those are two fish screens, and what they have is automatic wipers. So it'll turn on and wipe itself clean to keep that same amount of water that we want pulling it on off the creek, and not suck up any fish. We don't want no native fish going into our percolation ponds.
Right. I don't think they want to go in there either.
No.
All right, thank you. So we walked over to where those fish screens are here, and this is, what did you call this structure?
This is Page and Kirk local flow valves. Basically, this is a local flow structure where we can pull water off the creek and put it into our percolation pond. So you got two sides. Where we went earlier was the Page side, and then there's another valve here which goes to the Kirk side, which feeds a whole separate percolation pond area. So
when that inflatable dam is inflated,
correct,
the water level rises, the water is going to come into these cones,
the fish screens,
and then flows into there and then through.
Yeah, it fills
those grates.
Yeah, it fills up in this little pit area. It won't spill over this concrete because the dam is a lot lower than the top of this. So yeah, and then we open up the valves right here, and then we can take rainwater. We can capture it when it's raining, a storm event. We can capture that dirty water and bring it into our ponds and treat it and use it. Or if the reservoirs are full in the summer, we can just open up the reservoirs and take a little off of there, clean water, and divert it into our ponds.
Okay. And these valves were the camera guys are standing is, are those manually run or?
There is a power drive, so luckily I can just push a button and I got to turn it 100 times by hand. But
Okay.
lose power in case of emergency, something like that, then yeah, we will be operating them by hand, closing them down or open them, whatever we need to do.
And then I mentioned it before. There's this vault right there is where what's that pipeline called?
This
Pipeline?
Cross Valley pipeline. We got a couple pipelines that run through here, but that's just the page guard valve, the page turnout. So yeah, this is where we get our imported water. It can bypass all this structure and put water into our ponds.
All right. Anything else?
That's it.
Okay. So we're at Stevens Creek Reservoir here. Stevens Creek is one of our 10 reservoirs used for groundwater recharge.
Correct. Yes.
What ponds does this go to? And the creek itself, it does groundwater recharge through the creek.
Yeah, it's mainly for the creeks. So this one we don't pull off the creek and put into the percolation ponds. It's mainly there's a lot of wells, down the creek, so it percolates, for those underground wells and stuff like that other people can pull out and use.
Okay.
But it's mainly just for the whole Stevens Creek. It's all mainly it's used for.
All right. And it's real low right now.
Yeah, it's about 347 acre feet currently it's at. Normally it's about 3,100 feet when it's full and spilling. So we're about 11% capacity right now.
Yeah, and this time of year, towards the end of the winter, probably is supposed to be near full.
Yeah, near full, exactly. Yeah, or spilling, which we would like.
Yeah. So we're looking at a line that goes down from this box here. What is this equipment for?
So in this drought kind of situation we're in, and with the reservoirs dropping real low, that's something that we're going to be looking into. Is what the box is the hydraulic lines for the upper intake valve. So basically that's what lets all the water downstream. You got downstream valves, upstream valves. So this is what's in the reservoir. We open those up and then it shoots it out, downstream. So what we're thinking, what we're planning on trying to do is if they do dry out, we can get to the intakes, is replacing the hydraulic fluid with new, biodegradable friendly oils. So just in case there is a leak, it won't do no damage to the environment at all. So that's one of the things that we're looking into with this drier weather. We can actually suck all this hydraulic fluid out, switch stuff over, and put the bio stuff in.
So take advantage of the opportunity when we can reach that intake.
Yeah, definitely. So our current elevation where we're at today, 347 acre feet. The amount of water we're letting out is about half a CFS, 0.5 of a CFS.
Is that basically just what leaks from the valve?
Yeah, it's basically the leakage, and it's making it a couple hundred feet downstream, that flow. But with that leakage, if we get no more rain, we got about 275 days of water left in this reservoir. If we left it just the way it is, and no water was coming into it in this current situation. So, I mean, some of our reservoirs, this is kind of where we're at. We got, a couple hundred days or a couple thousand days if we don't use any of the water out of them.
So, couple hundred days gets us into next winter. So hopefully we'll get a better winter next year.
Hopefully, yeah, and that's kind of why we slowed down our releases out of the reservoirs to kind of just to save that, because it's going to evaporate more in the summer, hotter weather, all that stuff. So it's kind of let's not let all the water out now. Let's see how bad the summer's going to be and everything else, and hopefully we can make it until next winter.
So when you come up to a reservoir, what are the kinds of things that you would be doing when you're up here?
If we're making flow changes, so adjusting the flow downstream, say we want to move the creek forward and back, whatever we want.
Is that manually from a valve that's up here, or?
The valve is down below. We can do it by hand, so everything's always done by hand. If we lose complete power, everything, we can always do it by hand, but it is hooked up to the district SCADA system where we can call Rinconada, tell them our flow we want or our valve percentage, and they can dial it in for us from their office, and we don't have to be out at site.
So the intake you talked about with the hydraulic lines, that's normally open?
100% open, yeah. The upper valve is usually always open 100%.
So the valve on the other side of the dam
downstream
that
valve.
you adjust?
Right, that's our regulating valve to regulate how much flow is coming out. Yeah.
You know, what occasions would you shut the intake valve on the water side?
For an event like this where we got no more, we're just trying to save as much water as possible, or if we have DSOD inspections where they want
Which
to,
is the Division of Safety of Dams.
right, corrected. If they want to inspect, the downstream valve, if it opens full, opens closed, then we'll close this upstream valve. So no water is going to come out of the reservoir at all, but they can see the function of the downstream valve, make sure it's operating properly.
Okay. Anything else that you would do up here?
Just check reservoir elevations, double check them, 'cause they are online, that anybody can see, the public can see and read.
But and you're not the gauge person, but where's the gauge for this reservoir?
There are some, they're called RP, reference point markers. I believe it's where the other blockhouse is. They go down the face of the dam, and they're all engineered in, so they tell you the height, and then you can kind of read it from there and then gauge how much water we got left in the reservoir.
So those get reported, and they're on our website.
Correct.
For anyone to look at anytime they want. What else?
That's kind of all we really got out here. With this, like I said, with the weather the way it is and no rain, it's just kind of keeping it wet and keeping as much water in the reservoir as we can at this time.
There's always one of these things, and we have a spillway over here,
Correct.
and this plastic tubing is serving what purpose?
It's a log boom. What it does is to keep all when it's floating, it'll float at the water elevation, and it's to keep all the big logs that do float into the reservoir. It'll keep them from going down the spillway, because it could get, all those logs could get stuck underneath bridges and stuff like that, or hit somebody, if they're down by the creek. So it's just to hold it all back, and then maintenance crew will come out here and retrieve some of the upper logs and remove them, clean it out. So that's another thing that we'll be doing this probably summer. If we get no more rain, we'll clean a lot of these logs out.
All right. So Jason, you were talking about the gauges that are actually measuring the reservoir levels on a real-time basis, and those are over there.
Right, in that blockhouse that sends the data back to the office and then puts it on our webpage.
But these little monuments are
Called RP pipes.
What is RP?
Reference point, kind of gives you the exact point of where the water elevation's at.
These aren't moving anywhere, and so
No.
this is on top of it. It says 542. What's that mean?
So that it's stamped in, it's been surveyed and engineered. They know exactly this elevation is 542 feet. So they stamp it in, and then each one down
All the way
is
down.
2 feet. So if this is 542, that's 540. And what you would do, the way to come out in the field, if the water was this high, you would take an engineer ruler, measure it down from the top of the lip right down to wherever the water level's at, and you subtract the difference, and that gives you exactly your water elevation.
So that can verify what we're getting from the electronic readings over there.
Exactly, yeah. And at all of our reservoirs, we have these. They're at all of them.
I've never noticed them before.
Most people don't see them; they're hidden.
All right, thanks. Well, thanks for watching. I hope you learned a lot about the groundwater system like I did. Really important in such a year like this and the drought to save as much water as we can to maintain our groundwater supplies. So if you need any help with that, please go to our website and look for our Drought Watch page for resources for saving water. So thanks for watching. See you next month.